You know what? Greetings and salutations, everybody. I went ahead and I botched off the rip. But you know what? We'll go ahead and I'll kind of give you guys the gist of what I was saying. Greetings and salutations. Welcome to the YouTube channel. This is the first time I have not unmuted the stream in quite some time, mainly because there are multiple monitors and a lot of things I've been trying to keep an eye on. But either way, it is what it is. It happens. Today, we're going to be talking fantasy football for about the next 1 to 2 hours. A variety of topics regarding players that you guys ask about, potentially players that I will be drafting. I will be drafting via Underdog Fantasy later throughout this video, or live stream specifically. So if in fact I end up picking up a player, I'll give you context as to their value, how I see they're going to, potentially pan out going into the 2022 season. There's still a lot to be discovered this offseason, whether it is the rookie draft that is to come later this month. There's a lot of free agents out there, offensively and defensively, that are going to play, pretty big roles on their respective teams once they get signed. But either way, that's the entire, itinerary for today. We're talking fantasy. I'm answering your guys' questions. We'll go ahead, throw up the YouTube chat over here. I do appreciate you guys letting me know, all of you who are here, that there was no audio. Otherwise, I wouldn't have noticed. But that's why I have the chat in front of me, because I'm here to answer your guys' questions and get everything going. So I do greatly appreciate that. Oh, goodness gracious. That's a way to start a video, huh? At least I got a little bit of chat movement there. Everybody was, trying to help me out a bit there. I appreciate that, guys. All right. So I saw a couple questions at the top here. Specifically, User Nerd was asking about upcoming rookies going into the 2022 draft. And again, the last couple years, anytime a rookie gets drafted to a team that we believe to have incredible opportunity. Examples, Jonathan Taylor in 2020. Last year, Najee Harris. If there's a potential where another rookie running back that has a high ceiling of potential skill and then is given said opportunity going into 2022, could play a big role. But the question was specifically, where do you see Brees Hall and Kenneth Walker landing? Honestly, I've mentioned this before in the past, and I'll kind of keep to the idea that I really don't care where they land, as long as they have fantasy value that will give us as fantasy managers the ability to draft them and use them on a weekly basis in our starting lineups. Like when I think about teams, okay, let's go ahead. Let me pop this open. Okay, let's pop this open. Let's talk about teams in the NFL generally, okay? The Arizona Cardinals signed James Conner to a, 3-year, $30 million deal? Or was it $21 million? I don't know. It was a lot of money. They gave James Conner a lot of money. So are they going to draft another running back with, a high draft value? Probably not. The Baltimore Ravens, I've heard a couple whispers of them going and getting Melvin Gordon this offseason because of course, Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins both coming off of pretty significant injuries last season. The Atlanta Falcons, they probably need a running back, I'd say the very least, considering Cordero Patterson, Mike Davis isn't going to get anything done. Singletary could be replaced, but undoubted. I doubt that being the case. McCaffrey's not moving. Mixon's not moving. Chubb, Montgomery, Zeke's got a lot of money on that contract. Javonte's not being replaced. I guess the first team where there's a potential for a rookie running back to land and have incredible value would be Houston. Now, you may be thinking, well, it's the Houston Texans, Andrew. Are they really going to have much value? I mean, David Johnson was pretty good the last couple seasons. Obviously, was better in 2020, considering the team that surrounded him was better, specifically the quarterback position. So there's a potential where one of these running backs land there. There is no David Johnson anymore. They have signed a couple running backs in the offseason, but these are guys that are like kind of role players. Outside of that, Indy's not looking for a running back. Jacksonville's not. They spent a first-round pick last year. Kansas, nope. None of these teams. I mean, I'm going up and down the board. Unless the Giants plan on replacing Saquon, there's a potential there. I mean, everybody has got a running back. I mean, San Francisco, every year they draft a running back just to kind of add one to their, kind of stable. The Patriots wouldn't surprise me considering that's what they do. But outside of all of that, the Jets, maybe. I'd say the Jets and the Houston Texans have the highest likelihood of going after running backs in this upcoming year's draft and grabbing them and potentially giving them some sort of, I guess, decent value in that regard. Let's see. Go ahead and scroll down this chat, see what kind of questions you guys have been sending in. Let's see. All right. So, what questions do you guys got for me? I'm here. Javonte season, alpha, absolutely. Absolutely. I think Javonte Williams is in prime position to not only be an RB1, meaning he'll finish within the top 12 rankings of his position going into 2022. I think he has the potential, if in fact Melvin Gordon isn't re signed, and of course the Denver Broncos don't spend any draft capital on a running back. My assumption is that the likelihood is Javonte Williams could even be a top 6 running back in fantasy. He's got the ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. He's got the ability to get upwards of maybe, I mean, would it be crazy to say the guy can get 300 rushing attempts this year? I don't know. I mean, last year he was able to handle 200 total rushing attempts. Likewise, so did Melvin Gordon. So they split about 400 attempts between each other. If you go ahead and eliminate Gordon, you add another running back in there to take maybe 100. I don't think they're going to run the ball that much. I mean, Nathaniel Hackett, a former offensive coordinator of the Green Bay Packers, of course, understands the value of running the ball, but I don't think they're going to run that much. So there's a very good chance that we could see Javonte Williams touch the ball via receptions, rushing attempts 350 times this year. If that's possible, by all means, of course, he's going to be a very valuable running back in fantasy, to say the very least. Justin says, Mixon with a good offensive line, top 5, maybe top 3. I mean, he was already top 3 last season. I think he was a number 3 overall back last season with 15 total rushing touchdowns. Of course, the offense progressing, the ability to get down into the red zone, and then, of course, give him those red zone rushing attempts, unlocked him. Not only that, I mean, Mixon, the reason why he was so valuable last year is where people were able to draft him respectively in comparison to years before, of course, with the injury concern and, of course, missing majority of the games in 2020 due to that the ankle foot injury that he sustained. I think there's a very good chance that we're probably going to see Mixon have, I don't know if similar numbers. 15 touchdowns is really hard to duplicate. But if the Cincinnati Bengals offense is as good as they were, and if they perhaps even improve, with the offensive line that's in front of them, the incredible improvements they've made across the board, the center, right guard, right tackle positions, yeah, Mixon should be fantastic. Thoughts on Travis Etienne? I mean, the whole question is whether or not James Robinson's able to return. James Robinson has a lot of value, but that's if he's by himself. If both these guys are active in the backfield, then we're in a little bit of trouble trying to figure out what the running back by committee situation looks like. Mainly because their coach, Doug Peterson, has always been kind of in that committee situation until the later seasons of his Philadelphia run, where he was able to give Miles Sanders the needed opportunity to be in the conversation of a top 24 running back. So I think Travis Etienne, if he is by himself, should very easily be in the conversation of, I mean, he's a top 20 running back to say the least. It's just a matter of how much they use him in the passing game and how much this team wants to run the ball. Of course, their offensive line isn't the greatest. They brought in Brandon Sheriff, former All-Pro, Pro Bowler from the Washington Commanders. That obviously increases, their ability to kind of run the ball at times. But ultimately, it's still a young team, a lot of inexperience. Hopefully, Travis Etienne kind of lights it up in the receiving game, considering his rapport with, Trevor Lawrence, former teammates in college. So I think he's going to have a great year. It's just where he lands is going to kind of, especially in our draft, it's going to be determined by where the progress of James Robinson is. Again, don't forget, he tore his Achilles against the Jets. I think it was week 17 of last year. So he's going to have a long process to recover. He's not going to be like Cam Akers and come back in 4 months. That's kind of like a, out of the realm of possibility for majority of athletes out there. Am I crazy having him in my top 3, specifically talking about Javonte? Are you crazy having him in your top 3? I think in a PPR that's okay, assuming of course he gets enough receiving opportunities, because when we're talking about PPR, Austin Eckler's in that conversation. Jonathan Taylor, of course, should be in that number 1. McCaffrey will be kind of floated around. Derrick Henry, it's tough to trust him as much as those other guys that are catching the ball 80 plus times, but I still think Derrick Henry is very easily in that top 3 conversation in a full PPR. So for right now, I'm thinking Javonte's in that 5-6 conversation alongside guys like Dalvin Cook, perhaps even, Joe Mixon, like we were mentioning a little bit earlier. There could be some momentum of DeAndre Swift this offseason that gets him into that conversation, top 7-ish. So But are you crazy to have him in top 3? I mean, if he performs at that level, we won't be calling you crazy at the end of the 2022 season. Do you think Gabriel Davis is going to have a breakout season? Yeah, Gabriel Davis is primed for one. I mean, the fact that they got rid of Cole Beasley, the fact that they went ahead and also no longer have Emmanuel Sanders on roster, that opens up a lot of opportunity, right? Josh Allen has been the number 1 fantasy quarterback back-to-back seasons. The guy's been throwing the ball for over 4,000 yards, over 35 touchdowns back-to-back years. There is going to be touchdowns caught by Gabriel Davis. Now, at what capacity? It's a matter of as long as he is the starting wide receiver for this team, he's going to be valuable. I mean, if you go back and look at the last 2 seasons of his career, when he's given the opportunity to play a lot, like more than 50% of the offensive snaps, because, throughout his rookie season in 2020, wasn't given that opportunity. Last season, it wasn't until Emmanuel Sanders and Cole Beasley were dealing with injuries at the back end where Gabriel Davis was given said, potential to play. And what did he do? He scored a lot of touchdowns. Obviously, a lot of people will remember his, incredible playoff performance. 200 receiving yards, 4 receiving touchdowns. He's a wide receiver 3 in my eyes with upside. But, top 36 to say the least. Thanks for that question, Gabriel. Okay, let's see here. Kevin says, can Derrick Henry make a comeback and finish as the RB1 in fantasy? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, before he left, he was the number 1 running back in fantasy. So I wouldn't put it past his potential. The entire offense is predicated on running the ball there in Tennessee. So they're going to continue to get after that. I won the chip after losing him and promised myself to draft him again if I get the chance. Yeah, I mean, listen, Kevin, you're one of the lucky ones. A lot of us who had Derrick Henry weren't able to recover, considering he was giving 25 points a week, sometimes more, throughout that span of time from weeks 1 through 8 prior to the ankle injury he sustained against Indianapolis. So a lot of potential there going into 2022. If he's available and you can end up picking him up, yeah, I think he always has the upside of getting into that double-digit touchdown range. And, of course, he's always going to be trying to set the record for most rushing yards in a season. So I wouldn't put it past him to try to go after that this year. Joe Burrow finna win MVP this season. We'll see, William. William, I saw you spamming earlier, you Goomba. Alpha says, Taylor, Eckler, Javonte, McCaffrey. Okay, interesting. Najee, Kamara. Wow, Dalvin Cook all the way down there. Mixon all the way down there. That's interesting. I mean, I guess in a full PPR, I wouldn't even put Kamara up there. I don't really trust Jameis Winston as a quarterback to feed him the ball in the receiving game, even though they did have a really good game together last season against Seattle. I think it was like a Thursday night football game. They had a good combination there where Alvin Kamara got a lot of receptions out of the backfield. Outside of that, we really haven't seen anybody target him at a high volume in comparison to where, Drew Brees was at. But I mean, listen, as a preliminary, ranking there's stuff that I agree with, stuff that I disagree with. But I mean, the top 10 players that you're mentioning, Alpha, are probably in everybody's top 10. It's just a matter of where you kind of place them in that regard. Let's see here. Kevin says, Devontae Parker lights it up in New England if healthy. That's the biggest if, right? We've all heard it. The best ability is availability, and that's been the problem for Devontae Parker in his career. If he's not able to stay healthy, then perhaps we may be in a little bit of trouble in that regard. Alan Lazard, okay, that's a good question. Can you have a breakout season? I think Alan Lazard and Aaron Rodgers, they have a pretty good rapport. Obviously, it's not at the level or the connection that Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers have. But I think it's going to be good enough to where Alan Lazard could be in the conversation to be high-end. I mean, look, if he really is going to be getting a lot of opportunity via targets, like 8, 9, 10 per game, the dude should be a top 24 wide receiver. But it's a matter of what they do this offseason. They could still sign a couple wide receivers that are out there. I'm talking Julio. I'm talking Jarvis Landry, Will Fuller. There's a lot of talent still out there potentially to be signed. Of course, the Green Bay Packers, I think if I'm not mistaken, have 2 first-round picks. Are they going to draft a receiver and, do something that they haven't done in the last 15 years or something? I doubt it. But for right now, if Alan Lazard is uncontested in terms of his overall target share, he's going to be in a pretty good position to have himself a great season here. And that's always been the thing with Aaron Rodgers. He's always said that he doesn't like playing with rookies because he always wants to have a connection with the receiver that has been built over years. So you've seen anybody that's been drafted to the Packers over the last couple seasons that have been rookies. often don't have really good number one, first years. They really don't mesh in the offense, don't play often. And that's mainly because Rodgers just doesn't connect with them. Jay says the man got Christian McCaffrey still up there. That's crazy. Listen, I look, Christian McCaffrey, I think I mentioned this last Monday when I did a live stream. When you draft him, you are signing the terms and conditions on the dotted line saying that if Christian McCaffrey ends up missing 10 plus games again, I am 100% okay with that fact, because we know that that's a possibility. Obviously, injuries are almost impossible to predict in many cases. Obviously, injury history can give us some sort of inclination as to who is more likely to get injured, but you never know who's going to step on your ankle, who's going to alligator roll you when you're getting tackled at the bottom of a pile. There's so many different variables and factors. As long as Christian McCaffrey, which I anticipate is going to get himself probably more opportunity than just about anybody in the league, considering his upside in the receiving game, the dude's going to touch the ball probably 20 to 25 times a game. And if that's going to be the case and he can stay healthy, of course he deserves to be in that top 10 conversation, much less top 5. Gabriel Davis and 22, 1.05, or Waddle. That's a good question. I guess, Wesley, it really depends on where the rest of your team looks like. If we're talking about a vacuum and I have to pick between Gabriel Davis and the 22.5 or Waddle, I'll take Waddle. Because I don't know what the rest of your team looks like. I don't know what your running back depth looks like. I don't know how much you need that 1.05 pick. So for right now, I'll just take the greater commodity, which in my opinion is going to be Waddle. Waddle with Tua last year was unbelievable. In games that Jacoby Brissett was the quarterback, of course, there was opportunity, and he certainly got himself, into situations where he got 8-9 targets. But with Tua, it's a completely different conversation. The guy's scored all of his touchdowns with Tua, and that connection is going to continue to build. And with Tyree Kill taking the top off defenses, Waddle underneath, it's going to be disgusting. I think Jerry Jeudy's the top 15 wide receiver, says Dutch. The potential with Russ in town and Noah Fant eating up less target. I mean, yeah, Noah Fant gone is great. I don't know how much they're going to use the tight end position, but Jerry Jeudy easily, along with Courtland Sutton, should both be considered top 20 wide receivers this year. The reason why is because any wide receivers as of the last 3 to 4 seasons associated with Russell Wilson that have gotten high opportunity have delivered. I mean, in the last, 3-4 seasons, Tyler Lockett has been a top 15 wide receiver every year. DK Metcalf last season finished as the number 12 overall wide receiver in a half PPR. The season before finished as the number 6 overall wide receiver. So when those wide receivers that are associated with Russell Wilson are getting 100 plus targets and are getting the goal line fades and getting everything that they potentially need in comparison to whatever Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock were throwing in their direction, I agree. I think there's a lot of potential for Jerry Jeudy, who will be playing in the slot position. I mean, last season, I think he played 67, almost 70% of his offensive snaps from the slot position. He's going to be playing that Tyler Lockett role, and we know how much success he had in that offense. While, of course, on the other side, it'll be Courtland Sutton playing that DK Metcalf role. Obviously, I think the relationship and the rapport that they built with Russell Wilson, that is Lockett and Metcalf, certainly played a big difference in their success. Hopefully, the offseason workouts are getting done and the rapport is being built already. Swaggy P says, in a redraft, Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase, how high would you draft Christian McCaffrey? Okay, Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase. I have Justin Jefferson ahead of Chase. Jefferson is unreal. I mean, it's hard to explain the efficiency that he has and the fact that he's been able to do everything he's accomplished alongside Adam Thielen. They're scoring. I think Adam Thielen scored 24 touchdowns in the last 2 seasons. Like, when you have another receiver that is just eating touchdowns and you're still able to be top 5, top 6, and then I think this upcoming season, he's my number 2 wide receiver overall, only behind Cooper Kupp. Justin Jefferson's getting more targets, more opportunity. Kirk Cousins is playing well. The offense is going to evolve with Kevin O'Connell coming in as their head coach, former offense coordinator of the Rams. So they're only going to get better as we progress here. Again, I want to thank you guys for coming out here. There's about 50 of you in the chat right now. I appreciate you guys coming out here, spending your time. And of course, it's throwing questions in my directions. Of course, I could sit here and talk to the wall about fantasy all day, but anytime I'm able to help you guys in your future decisions and or just building knowledge via fantasy football, glad to help. All right, let's see here. A couple more questions. We're up here. Oh yeah, the second tail of this question: how high would I be willing to draft Christian McCaffrey? I think it depends on the scoring format, and I think it also depends on who's still on the board and how risk averse you are. Considering I play in a lot of leagues, right? Like last year specifically, I think I played in 13 leagues. Considering I play in that many redraft, okay, and that's not even counting dynasty, and that's not even counting best ball either. So, and we'll talk about best ball in a bit. I'll be drafting one of those in just a few minutes here. I'm willing to draft him in scenarios in which I'm like, okay, well, I have a bunch of shares of Javonte, DeAndre, Dalvin, Derrick Henry, Austin Eckler. I have them spread apart. I'm going to go ahead and take a risk, and on this team, I'll draft Christian McCaffrey. But if I only play in 1 or 2 leagues, and those are my big money leagues, and I got everything on the line, it may be a little too risky to go ahead and draft a Christian McCaffrey as the number 3 overall running back when there is guys like Austin Eckler still available there in offenses, that are going to be scoring as much. And I mean, let's not forget Eckler. I think he scored 18, 20 touchdowns last year. So there's a lot of potential to be had ultimately. And depending on how many leagues you play in, that may kind of give you some insight as to where you should be going and whether you should be risking it for the biscuit. Bree says, thoughts on Dalvin Cook? Dalvin Cook's fantastic. He averaged 15 fantasy points per game last season in games that he was healthy and Kirk Cousins was active. I know that's a huge down step from seasons prior, of course, averaging about 19 to 20 fantasy points, but he's going to still be great. I think he's definitely going to be an RB1. I mean, if you think about what this offense has done, even when Alexander Mattison has stepped up in his stead when he's been injured, when Dalvin Cook's been out with injury, and Alexander Madison's out here dropping 18 to 20 fantasy points. So whoever is going to be that starting position out of that backfield is going to have value. So I think Dalvin, the fact that he's able to, just continue to be fed the ball, averaging, I think in the last 3 seasons, over 20 touches per game, that's elite level opportunity. And when you're in that conversation, you're certainly going to be scoring a lot of points. I mean, the only way to score more points in fantasy football is being given the ball more. That's it. Unless you're going to have some lucky touchdown stat, it's going to be tough. We had a donation here from Michael Amato. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Again, you guys don't have to send in donations, but I do appreciate you supporting the channel. Hey, Andy. Great to see you back on the saddle again. What do you think about targeting Eli Moore, which is Elijah Moore of the New York Jets, as my number 3 wide receiver in 2022? I think he may have a monster year. I mean, there's always a potential of him having a monster year. My only concern or reservation is, of course, the quarterback position, whether or not Zach Wilson takes the next step forward. Otherwise, I think, yeah, Elijah Moore is probably the most talented wide receiver in that locker room. I know Corey Davis has the experience, but Corey Davis has shown himself to be injury prone at times and also, disappear at times in games. Very touchdown dependent in that regard. So Elijah Moore playing in the slot position, being able to get work out of the backfield, he should be the number 1 receiving option of that offense. As a number 3 wide receiver, I think you may even be able to get him later in your draft. So if you're able to get him as a number 3 wide receiver, a guy that's coming off of the bench potentially as a flex or when bye weeks arise, I don't mind that, but I think you can even get him later going into this upcoming year. All right, really quickly, I'm going to go ahead and start a draft. Just a key reminder, for those of you who are trying to draft with me, you can go ahead and do so via Underdog Fantasy, just to kind of give you some perspective. If you guys haven't checked out Underdog Fantasy, there's a link down in the description of the video. If you go ahead and travel to their website and use promo code Andrew today, Underdog Fantasy is willing to match up to $100 of your first deposit. Again, so if you go ahead and deposit $100, they'll match that with in-game money, set you up with $200 and ready to go. There's a couple drafts going on right now, which is the rookies and sophomores $10 entry, where you're drafting rookies that even haven't been selected yet and rookies of last year of 2021. Go ahead and build a team in that regard, or the big board Superflex $10 entry, in which you can go ahead, have a 2 QB team, build a roster accordingly, and try to just kind of win some prizes while also gaining draft experience going into the 2022 year. I'll go ahead and throw up the window capture here just so I can, let's see here, bada boom. Okay, so that'll be down there. I'm going to go ahead and probably hop into a Superflex draft. Again, these take a little while, and a Superflex draft is certainly different than a normal draft. Just to give you perspective, again, having the ability to start a second quarterback, you will see quarterbacks come off the board in the first round aplenty. I mean, they're just going to disappear. And to be honest, a lot of these teams are probably going to be drafting 3 to 4 quarterbacks, and not by accident, mainly because this is a best ball. You don't have to set the lineups during the season. The entire point of this is to draft players you think are going to perform well, and then have their performances set the lineups for you. There's a huge prize pool, as you guys can potentially see here. I'll go ahead and switch screens just to kind of give you more perspective on the matter. Oh, that's not where I wanted that. I did that last week. I gotta remember, man. I haven't streamed in so long, I've forgotten. Prize pools are pretty large, to say the very least. The roster construction, it's a half PPR, 1 quarterback, 2 wide receiver, 2 running backs, 1 super flex, 1 flex, a lot of bench spots. So once we get into that, we'll be good to go. You can draft it in an 8-hour kind of time frame, or you can go ahead and do it in 30-second. I'm going to be joining a 30-second one here and seeing what we can get up to. We don't need the notifications. The draft is to be filled. So again, there's a lot of spots remaining here. So while that is kind of being filled up, I'll go ahead and I'll just chill here answering questions as we have done already this stream. Okay. So a couple more. Another donation was sent in with Jimmy. Thank you, Jimmy. I appreciate that. What are your QB and wide receiver stacks I should go after? Listen, I've never been someone that is super enticed by stacks unless it's like in a best ball league. Like, okay, the best QB wide receiver stack right now is probably Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs. Probably, right? Based on the fact that Stephon Diggs has been incredible in the last 2 years, and Josh Allen's been the number 1 quarterback for back-to-back seasons. So the fact that that has been the case obviously does lend to the fact that it's probably a good stack. But I've always been someone that says, I want the best player at each position. I don't care if they're associated. I don't care if they're on the same team. As long as they're the best available player for me, to put into my lineup, doesn't matter if they're stacking. Like, sure, having Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford, that's great because Matthew Stafford's throwing 3 touchdowns and Cooper Kupp might be catching 2 of them. But it doesn't really matter as long as, if I have Lamar Jackson in that position at quarterback and I still have Cooper Kupp, as long as Lamar Jackson scores more points than, Matthew Stafford, it's not going to matter. So outside of that, again, Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, I think another great stack potentially as a wide receiver quarterback combo. I mean, the fact that Mahomes and Tyree Kill don't exist anymore, Rodgers and Davante Adams isn't a combo anymore, it does kind of thin up that potential, to say the very least. I mean, you could go after potentially Stafford and Kupp, but again, it's going to be tough to be in that position of drafting Kupp early enough anyway. So it's very dependent on where you're selecting anyway. Where are we at here? There was a couple questions that we moved on from. Okay. I'd rather have the handcuff. I mean, look, even though Dalvin Cook hasn't played a full season in his entire career, he's still only missed a couple games each of the last couple seasons. I think he missed 4 games last year, probably missed 3, or actually, no, I think it was 2 in 2020 and 2 in 2019. So, yes, he does miss a couple games. Risk versus reward. Are you willing to have a running back drop 20 points a week in exchange for him missing 2 weeks out of the year and potentially having to roster Alexander the whole season? Let's see here. What are your top 3 tight ends? Kelsey's probably number 1. And Kevin sent in a question with Kelsey. I'll go ahead and answer that in a bit. I think Mark Andrews is probably number 2 based on his incredible performance last year. I don't know if the target count's going to be in that conversation. 154 targets, 101 receptions last year for Mark Andrews. A lot of his success was done without Lamar Jackson, which is crazy enough. So it is interesting. But we'll have to wait and kind of see what it all turns out to be. Outside of that, it's probably Waller. There's Hawkinson. There's Schultz. There's Kittle. Kittle with Trey Lance is tough to see him explode and have a great year. Kittle's had himself some injury risk and concern over the years. I think probably Waller's number 3 at this moment, even with Davante Adams there. Kevin said Kelsey stock going up even higher, more target share. I mean, look, outside of this last season where I think Tyree Kill had 159 targets, Kelsey has typically been the guy leading this team in targets year over year and just been a stud. So Kelsey's only going to get better. Where am I drafting here? I'm currently drafting number 10. Okay, cool. So I'll be able to get a quarterback running back combo there at the end of the first round. As soon as the draft starts in about 52nd, we'll change screens here. But until then, continue to answer questions. Yeah, I think Kelsey's stock is pretty high. He's probably a late second round pick like he was last year. He might even be higher, depending if you play in a league that has a tight end premium, full PPR, etc. But he certainly should get a lot of opportunity. Gabriel says, who are you taking in a full PPR with Russ in Denver? Cortland Sutton or Jerry Jeudy? I'm taking Jerry Jeudy in a full PPR over Cortland Sutton. I think he's just going to get more. I think he'll get less 50-50 balls, if you know what I mean. Cortland Sutton, big body wide receiver. He's going to go downfield. Obviously, Russell Wilson's been extremely accurate, but there's going to be a lot of opportunity that may just slip out of his hands because defenders may be in that region to go ahead and stop him from scoring. I'm going to go ahead and change screens here. The ball is coming down the way. We'll go ahead and I think I have to move this chat here. Maybe we move the chat down here for a little bit until the draft comes along. Again, this is a Superflex draft. It's going to be very interesting to see what comes off the board. Of course, Justin Herbert going 1.01. Not a surprise. Again, I think Justin Herbert's probably in the top 3 conversation for me going into the season. And he's not number 3. I'll put it that way. Let's see here. A couple more questions. All right. You think Zach Wilson could be a top 15 fantasy quarterback? I don't think so. Unfortunately, I don't think so. I think there's so much potential, but unfortunately, it's just the Jets. And there isn't enough surrounding him to help him get into that conversation. You know what I just realized? If I have the chat up, you guys probably can't see... you guys probably can't see what I pick. So I'm going to go ahead and bring that up there and I'll just read off of it in a bit. My first selection's coming down the line here. Available quarterbacks: Dak, Brady, Stafford, Rodgers, Jalen Hurts, Russell Wilson. I'm willing to probably go ahead and hope that Matthew Stafford returns to me in this conversation. With that said, oh my goodness, this is very interesting. The reason why I'm never going to draft a wide receiver here is because if I let running back go down the line and come back, we're going to be in trouble. It's a half PPR. I'm going to go ahead and take Mr. Derrick Henry, and then I'll let the quarterback come back to me in the second round here and just pick up whatever I get. We should be in a pretty good position in that regard. Because, unless these guys want to go ahead and take the best available 4 quarterbacks, which they very easily could, leaving me with probably Jalen Hurts as my QB1, I wouldn't even be mad at that. Because every draft is different and you're just trying to build. All right, so Jimmy sent in a donation. I appreciate that, Jimmy. How do you feel about Javonte Adams and Tyree Kill in their new teams? And do they still have top receivers? Are they still top receivers in fantasy? And should they be drafted in a full where they should be drafted in a full PPR? Okay, so there are many. Okay, look, that's a good stack. Considering he was able to guarantee Matthew Stafford there on the turn. Again, this is a super flex, a little different. That's fine. That being said, the question that, oh man, can you just leave me Tom Brady? I'll take Tom Brady here. I'm not even kidding, man. Chimp, if you're listening to me, just let me have Brady. Just don't break my heart. Anyway, if he auto drafts here, it'll probably take him Brady, which will suck for me, but it is what it is. All right, I'm taking Brady. Okay, so anyway, going back to the question, Davante Adams and Tyree Kill. I think they're probably both second-round picks this year. Do they still have top-tier value like they did in seasons past? Probably not, because the ability for, let's say, for example, Davante Adams, do you think he's going to get 169 targets this year? Probably not, because that's what he got last season, and he was able to produce as well as he was. So if you're not getting that high volume of target opportunity, it's going to be tough for me to 100% say he's in that top 3 conversation anymore. Same thing with Tyree Kill. Now, Tyree Kill could be could end up getting a lot of touchdowns, and so could Davante Adams. That kind of evens out their lack of opportunity in terms of targets, but it's going to be tough for me to think that they're in that top. Honestly, Cooper Kupp, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, those guys are probably top 3 in whatever order you want to put it. And then it's still probably Davante Adams and Tyree Kill and Deebo Samuel as the next 3 off the board. So regardless of where you guys still think they're going to be, I mean, Stephon Diggs probably before Tyree Kill and Davante Adams, just because I know the commodity and what to expect. So I would say Davante Adams, Tyree Kill, Deebo Samuel in that wide receiver 5 to 6 to 7 range. It's a pretty good spot for them. How far does Ty Hill fall now that Tua is the quarterback? Again, he's going from being a late first round pick to probably being in that middle to late second round. I don't think he's going to fall that much. Retro says, didn't you do a 2 QB mock the last mock you did? I did. So at this current moment via Underdog Fantasy, unless you guys want to join me for a 1 QB draft, there's no current 1 QB drafts that I can guarantee is going to fill up. I know this is going to fill up because of how many people want to get in on this prize pool and how popular Superflex is. I mean, my main league is Superflex, so I feel always comfortable drafting in this kind of format. So it was just a matter of, I know this is going to fill up. It's probably going to be, fill up relatively quickly. I can go ahead and do the rookie and sophomore one right after this. Again, for those of you who are interested in drafting via Underdog Fantasy, getting experience such as this, there's a link down in the description. The first line of the description, if you go ahead and head on over to their website, use promo code Andrew today. Underdog Fantasy is willing to match up to $100 of your first deposit to get you ready to go. Javonte Williams, 3rd round running back. I mean, of all the running backs taken so far, he was taken, I think, the 4th one off the board. Not really a surprise in that regard. Wide receivers, still a lot of talent remaining on the board. Deebo Samuel removed all San Francisco 49ers, relationships off his Instagram because, again, he wants to be paid. I don't blame him. He had an incredible year, but it's tough when we're talking about a running back that doesn't have more than 1 year of elite potential production. Is he able to repeat that this year? It's going to be tough. So here's my thought process right now. I'm probably taking running back and quarterback once again. The running back position isn't going to dry up super quick, but I think by the time it comes back to me in the 5th round, there's going to be no chance for me to have top tier running back talent, which I always want. I think there's a lot of depth at wide receiver. So, and the quarterback position, as we can tell, what's remaining, Tua, Lawrence, Tannehill, it's already beginning to dry up, which, you got to address. So with that said, of the available, you may think I'm crazy, but I am taking DeAndre Swift over Alvin Kamara. Just my preference. You can go about it, any way you would like. If Deebo Samuel's still there, I mean, there's always the excitement of maybe going after him, but for right now, we'll keep it as is. Okay, so let's see here. I'm looking forward to seeing who's going to be taken over in quarterback for Pittsburgh. Needless to say, rest in peace, Dwayne Haskins. Extremely unfortunate scenario that I was made aware of yesterday. Super unfortunate. Thoughts and prayers with his family. Another young NFL stud. Unfortunately, things happen. That's how you gotta. It's tough. It's tough. RIP. As for the quarterback situation in Pittsburgh, I think they'll probably stick with Mitch this year and then maybe go ahead and draft a QB in 2022. That looks like probably the best chance for them. What's up, Ryan? Hope you're doing well. Wonderboy, I appreciate that. Wonderboy, I wanted to remind everybody to like the stream. I appreciate that. Javonte Williams is a stud. No, he is, absolutely. You won't hear anything other than that from me. Don't worry. I'll be banging the table for him all season long, all off season long. Okay, Trevor Lawrence taken there. So again, if I don't end up grabbing a quarterback right now, I will most likely be subjected to drafting, Marcus Mariota or Jared Goff, which, we all know it's not the greatest thing. So at this point of the available guys, I'm going to take Tua. I'm going to buy in on the potential experiment there that is this Dolphins offense. We'll just see what happens. When the draft comes back down and around, there's still a lot of wide receiver talent. Again, Keenan Allen here. I think Freddie sent in a question earlier. Freddie, I don't know if you're here. You asked me about where I see Austin Eckler and Keenan Allen. I remember reading this. I think it may have even been before the stream started. Keenan Allen has been top 15 wide receiver, since 2018? So he's always going to be in that conversation. I always rank him at the back end of my top 12 wide receivers, considering his consistency throughout his career. So the consistency that he's had and he has shown, and the ability for me to trust him regardless of what happens, to be in that, wide receiver 10 to wide receiver 14 conversation, it makes me very happy to draft him at the back end, as the number 12 wide receiver off the board. Now, if that ends up being my number 1 wide receiver, so be it. I mean, with Herbert in the last 2 seasons, the guy's been averaging like 14 fantasy points per game. So if he's available, I'm happy with it. Jalen Waddle's available there. Keenan Allen, Jerry Jeudy, like we've mentioned before. And then we get a bunch of question marks. DK Metcalf, huge question mark. DJ Moore, we don't know the quarterback there. Deontay Johnson, Mitch Trubisky, that's a question mark. Amari Cooper, who's going to be starting for Cleveland? Chris Godwin, obviously coming off of an ACL. There's a lot of question marks from here on out. It's tough to go ahead and try to figure out who's going where and what kind of value they potentially have. Obviously, good tight ends still available. Running backs, they're beginning to disappear to an extent, but not enough to where I'm freaking out. Obviously, I have my studs. Will Kyle Pitts truly live up to the hype this year? Gabriel, good question. I think there's a couple ways of going about this. The first question is, who else are they going to throw the ball to? Because really, they don't have anybody else that is a viable receiving option on a weekly basis, besides maybe Cordero Patterson. Again, Cordero Patterson is going to work out of the backfield. So that's a toss-up. Then the next question is, if there's no one else to throw the ball to, and defensive coordinators know that Kyle Pitts is going to see himself 10 targets, then they're, of course, going to try to put their best cornerback on him. Because, again, he does line up in the slot a lot, loves to line up out wide as a wide receiver, similar to the way that a lot of teams have used Kelsey and Waller over the last couple seasons. Mike Gesicki been a slot receiving option over the last couple years. What am I going to do here? Zach Wilson got taken off the board. Do I want a third quarterback before we get to the crazy parts? No. Okay, I'm going to take Waddle here. I'll go ahead and stack him with Tua. I don't know what that's going to look like in about 6 months, but hopefully it'll look decent. But in regards to Kyle Pitts, Marcus Mariota has been known to love throwing the ball to his respective tight ends. I mean, you go back to 2015 with Delaney Walker, going as far as 2018. Delaney Walker was a top 12 tight end each of those seasons, getting incredible opportunity. You even go back to 2020. Marcus Mariota steps into Derek Carr's starting position because Derek Carr left with a groin injury against the Chargers. In that game, Darren Waller goes off because Marcus Mariota gets him the ball. He loves throwing the ball to the tight end position. He's obviously going to find himself having to throw the ball to Kyle Pitts, but it's tough because it's a team that doesn't look like they're built to win. I looked at their schedule earlier today because you guys know how much I love to work on schedule and figuring out who they play and how good defenses are against respective positions. I don't know if they're going to win more than a couple games. Like, if they win 1 to 2 games this year, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, it's really that difficult of a schedule. They've got to play the AFC North, which is Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Cincinnati, and Cleveland. Those look like 4 losses to me. They've got to play the NFC West, which is the Rams, 49ers, Arizona Cardinals, and Seahawks. Seahawks could be a win, but again, we don't know what the Seahawks are going to look like with Drew Lock there. The quarterback position is still Travis Etienne taking at the running back position. Okay. So we could take a third quarterback here. Do we want to? Not really. I'm feeling pretty comfortable with this. I could probably get like somebody way later down the line. Ezekiel Elliott's still on the board. I mean, goodness gracious, man. I mean, he has fallen from grace, hasn't he? I think I can get him on the comeback here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit something crazy. I'm going to take Godwin just to stack him with Brady. Just, somebody said something about stacks, and though I don't like it, I'm just going to test it out. We'll see if it works. Again, it's just playing it off the cuff here. Okay. So yeah, I mean, Marcus Mariota with a tight end that is of the elite level. I probably should have taken Elliott there, but it's okay. I'll live with it. We'll probably go ahead and take another running back here. One that I was eyeing that I didn't want to mention. Let's see here. Metcalf taken off the board, not bad. Okay. Thoughts on the Tyree Kill trade? I mean, I think the I think both sides won, right? If the Dolphins use him the way that he is meant to be used as a all-around threat, rushing, receiving, etc., then they're going to be happy with the overall trade. Otherwise, it looks like the Kansas City Chiefs kind of fleeced them. They got out of having to pay a guy $30 million. I understand he's an elite wide receiver, but you can go ahead and you could take that first round pick, bunch it with another one, move up in this draft, try to go get one of these top wide receivers, these young guys. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to be able to get into that conversation of going after a Drake London or the kid out of Ohio State. I don't know. Burks. There's a lot of receivers out there, but I think they should be retooling, trying to draft a receiver here in the first round to try to help Mahomes. Otherwise, both teams should be okay. Obviously, it's going to hurt Patrick Mahomes' overall upside, considering Tyree Kill has been that slot receiver for the last couple of years and really has helped that team. But we'll see how it all plays out, respectively. Zeke is cooked. Yeah, I've heard a lot of that. I think Zeke is relatively cooked. I don't know. It's tough because Zeke is a talented running back, but when he's not healthy, we're in trouble, right? I mean, what was it? 11 consecutive games of less than 43 rushing yards last year. That kind of streak shouldn't exist, especially for the talent he has, the offensive line that he has. That's just, it's tough to see, to say the very least. Okay, what do I want to do here? My selection is coming up. These guys already have 3 running backs a pop, so that'll probably leave me to taking a running back, which I should, because the guy after me is most likely going to take one, and then I'll take tight end on the comeback here. So running backs that I'm confident with of the available, I mean, yeah, I'll just take that if it ends up being the case. Yeah, okay. I'm taking Elijah Mitchell. I mean, in games where Elijah Mitchell was healthy and played the full game, the guy was averaging 20 opportunities a game. So that's a combination of attempts and targets. So I know Deebo Samuel's certainly a threat, but Elijah Mitchell, still a running back that I'm willing to have a piece of, especially considering they're adding the opportunity of a rushing quarterback. That makes it so much easier to run the ball, considering the backside defensive end during a read option has to respect the fact that, Trey Lance is going to pull the ball and rip them for 30 yards potentially. So, we'll see. Available tight ends here: Dallas Goedert, Dawson Knox, Gronk. I probably end up waiting here at this point. I don't know if I want to spend that much. Yeah, I'll probably end up waiting. If in fact Allen Robinson comes back home to me, I think I'm happy with that. If that's not the case, I probably go quarterback because I do need a third one, and I don't mind just taking like Davis Mills. Okay, Elijah Moore coming off the board. Again, someone was mentioning it earlier. Elijah Moore, yeah, he's coming off the board a lot earlier than I really anticipated. He's getting a lot of hype, which is kind of interesting. All right, I'll take myself an Allen Robinson share here. Malik Willis taken at 8-2. That's interesting. All right, let's see here. I think Tyree Kill takes the top off of the defense while Waddle eats all day underneath. Yeah, no, I mean, look, let me see if I can find my stats. Listen, this entire offseason, while I haven't been making videos, I've been preparing to make videos. I've been accumulating so many stats. I mean, that's what I'm supposed to do, right? So I've got a library of spreadsheets that are ready to kind of just be unleashed. Let me find the stat here for Waddle. So last season, Waddle, where is it? So with Tua in the game, he had a 27.49% target rate. So for the 342 routes he ran, he was targeted 94 times. That's literally, I mean, that's more than one out of every 4 routes that he ran that he was getting the ball in his direction. But the stat that honestly is the best, where is it? Where the heck is the stat that I'm looking for? There it is. Waddle with a healthy Tua averaged 14.67 fantasy points per game in 10 games last year. I mean, if he was already eating, just imagine now that they added more weapons to the offensive line, to the receiving core, and then they're just going to continue to just build. It's going to be tough to stop that team. Let's see here. Dutch says hottest take I can come up with. I think that might happen. Hottest take. Okay, let's see here. With the Packers having basically, let me move this actually down here really quickly so I don't have to look up. Move that over to the side. Am I selecting soon? Not so soon. Okay. With the Packers having basically scraps in the way of their receiving, okay. I think it's possible that Tua finishes ahead of Rodgers. That's a very bold prediction. That's an extremely bold prediction. I don't even know how to react to that. That's interesting. I'll just say that. Gabriel says, great answer, Andrew. Let me rephrase now. Will Kyle Pitts truly live up to the hype if they sign someone big like Jarvis Landry, etc.? I don't know if anybody really wants to sign with the Atlanta Falcons. I guess if they're just throwing money at people, sure. I think if they sign someone big at wide receiver, it'll give me more confidence to trust that Kyle Pitts won't be double teamed all season long. So if they go ahead and they go ahead and sign Will Fuller, Jarvis Landry, OBJ, all three of them, give me more confidence that we can trust that Kyle Pitts at least is going to have a little bit of pressure off of his back to make every single play. Because again, he's only a second-year player. Last year, he did really well. Over 1,000 receiving yards for a tight end is very uncommon. I mean, he put together the best rookie tight end season, I think only behind, Gronk and Evan Ingram? I mean, those are the two other guys that as of late have been great. Dutch says, depends on if the Packers add anybody via the draft and if Jalen gets much better with Tyree. Yeah, you make a point there. Not saying it'll happen, but I think it's totally it's not totally out of the realm of possibility. I still think that Rodgers is far too talented himself to not play well, regardless of what surrounds him. So we'll see. All right, so who do I want? I want Adam Thielen if I can get him here. I also probably want another running back, considering I only have 3 at this point. The tight end position, I'm not. Okay, so we'll go ahead and take the Adam Thielen that I was looking to draft. Again, 24 touchdowns in the last 2 seasons, and that isn't even full season. I think it's like 24 touchdowns in 25 games. It's some stupid number, man. Adam Thielen is just, whew. And especially in a best ball league, Adam Thielen's super volatile, right? He'll have games where he scores 2 touchdowns and put up 24 points, and then he'll have a game where he has 2 catches for 22 yards and put up 4 points. In a best ball, I don't have to worry about that because I'm not setting the lineup. It sets itself based on who scores the most in a given week. So there's more confidence to draft a player like that in this kind of a format. Available quarterbacks. I mean, I think I'm just going to grab Kenny Pickett because he's going to be a Carolina Panther, and I'm thinking he's probably going to start. Desmond Ridder, I could wait for him. I don't know. Maybe I just trust the 2 quarterbacks I have and roll with it. Is there anybody that makes me want to draft them regardless of what the heck is going on here? Michael Gallup's not a bad option. I'm gonna take the risk. We'll risk it for the biscuit here. We'll take Kenny Pickett. The Carolina Panthers, if I'm not mistaken, they have the number 5 or 6 pick this month for the NFL draft. They don't draft again until like the 3rd round, so they don't have much draft capital to move up. So they're going to probably have to take their quarterback now or forever hold their peace with Sam Darnold, which if they want to take and roll with Sam Darnold, by all means, they can do them. It's just tough. Thielen is washed. As much of a incorrect statement that is, it is your opinion, Swaggy, so no problem. Rodgers was MVP last year. I mean, the last 2 seasons he was MVP. So I hope they add some pieces. Listen, the issue with Rodgers and the Packers and the reason why they've had so much, I guess, back and forth struggles over the last few years, obviously them drafting Jordan Love wasn't something that was going to help their, relationship overall. I honestly believe that just, the GM doesn't know what he's doing. If I had Aaron Rodgers as my starting franchise quarterback, I would do everything I could in my power every single year to surround him with 10 incredible wide receivers. 20, I don't care. I'll sign the whole free agency list. You know how many teams this offseason have moved around cap space by changing deals? All you have to do is front load the deal with a guaranteed signing bonus off the rip, and it changes the entire, the entire book. A lot of teams have got, I mean, this is the way that the Rams have done it, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have done it. They've changed, I mean, the New Orleans Saints were like 50 million over the cap, and they've managed a way to get under it by just giving people free money off of signing bonuses and then having the rest of their deal not as impacted. So there's a lot of salary cap gymnastics that teams can get through to sign good players. And I don't know why the Packers haven't done it. I don't think they know what they're doing. It's tough, especially considering, I mean, this team has been deep in the playoffs 3 consecutive years. Obviously last season was an unfortunate turn of events based on weather and all that kind of stuff, but still. Yeah, no, listen, Swag, I 1000% agree with you. Thielen is touchdown dependent, but when I'm drafting in a best ball and I don't have to set the lineup, I'll take that, because if out of an 18-week season, in the 17 games that he plays, if he ends up producing a touchdown in 9 of them, I think that's good for me, because at least in 9 of those games, he's putting up 15 points. Hunter Henry coming off the board. I've pretty much ignored tight end, mainly because I think Gronk's coming back. And if Gronk ends up in my lap here, then we're good to go. If that's not the case, we'll probably end up going for Robert Tonyan coming off the ACL and hoping that Rodgers throws him the ball. I feel like the salary cap should be stricter, says Bill. Yeah, I mean, look, salary cap's a very interesting thing. There's some sports that are super strict about it. Some sports that, the MLB teams like, the Dodgers here in LA, they'll spend all the money, while, teams like the Pirates will spend none of the money. There goes Gronk off the list. No big deal. We'll go ahead and adapt accordingly to that. It's tough. It really is tough. I mean, I understand that people want to go ahead and kind of limit salary cap so that you can't draft or sign an entire all-star team. But I think, we're getting to a point where there's a lot of good players and every team will eventually look like an all-star team. Lazard taken. Okay. So of the available, Miles Sanders still on the board. What other running backs is like moving the needle for me? Nothing really like incredible, especially considering we don't know where he's going. We'll wait on that. Looking at what's available here, if Michael Gallup comes back early enough, we could be in a good position. Yeah, we'll go ahead and take Michael Gallup here. Where do you rank Tom Brady among other quarterbacks? Right now, Tom Brady, last season, he in a standard league, 4 point per passing touchdown. He finishes the number 3 quarterback, if I'm not mistaken. He probably is in my top 5. Probably at number 5. Could be higher this season. Again, it just depends on what they surround him with. If Gronk does come back, I think he's easily a top 5. And it shouldn't be close. I mean, he's coming off of 2 of his best seasons ever as a quarterback. Obviously, there's that one season where he threw for 50 passing touchdowns. That's a long time ago. But when we're talking as of late in the last 5-6 years, in Tampa Bay, he's been incredible. The receivers around him, Evans, Godwin, Gronk, Fournette. You bring in Russell Gage as another, role player. They have so much talent there up front in the offensive line. Though they ended up losing Ali Marpet to retirement, they went and they traded for Shaq Mason, one of the best run blocking offensive linemen. There's a lot of talent, still available. All right, so a lot of people. Did someone take Miles Sanders? Yeah, I was about to say Miles Sanders is not a bad grab. There's a lot of rounds remaining here. I think I'm just gonna start grabbing tight ends and just hoping. So we're gonna hope that Cole Kmet kind of steps up this year. No more Jimmy Graham in the lineup. We'll hopefully kind of go in his direction. Where do you rank Brees Hall amongst RBs? Christopher, I mean, that's a great question. I think it really depends on where he ends up landing. At the beginning of the stream, someone posed the exact same question as to like kind of where do you think he ends up? I think the most likely place that he lands that'll make me happy in terms of fantasy is Houston. If he doesn't end up going there and he goes to another team that already has an established running back, maybe he goes to Atlanta. That could be decent. But outside of that, unless he's going somewhere where he's going to immediately be the starter, I think there's going to be a lot of devastating places where he can go, end up, and start killing a lot of fantasy value from other prospects, which certainly could hurt. Let's see here. Okay, that's cool. All right, just wanted to make sure everything's good there. Make sure the stream is still running cleanly. I'm going to go ahead and hop back to this other stream. I mean, we're in the later rounds here. This draft will soon be finished. I'll go ahead and move this down here. Okay, everybody can see that. Perfect. Now I can move this down and we're good to go. Okay. If Brees Hall lands in Buffalo, oh baby. I mean, look, Devin Singletary played extremely well. Is that to say that they're not looking for another running back? I think they are. There's a reason why. Well, actually, you know what? Let me redact that statement. They're looking for a receiving back. Now, what I mean by that is this offseason, they tried to sign J.D. McKissic. They sent the offer sheet. The agent pretty much said that they're going to sign it. And then not even a day later, the Washington Commanders, they matched the offer and J.D. McKissic decided to stay in Washington. So they wanted a receiving back of that caliber. They went ahead and they signed Duke Johnson off of the Miami Dolphins, or who played for the Miami Dolphins last season. He's kind of a receiving back over the last 5 to 6 years, formerly of Cleveland, Houston, etc. Is my pick almost up here? Yeah, I'm almost up. Okay. If they are going to get a running back that can do it all, then that's great, and that'll give them a lot of value. But I still think it's tough to go in. I mean, look, if it is Brees Hall and he lands in Buffalo, the guy is going to be a top 15 running back, especially with that offense. My only concern is, and the only reason he would ever not end up in that position as a top 15 to 20 running back is if Josh Allen keeps doing what he's doing. Josh Allen's been running the ball for 600, 700 rushing yards, 8, 9 rushing touchdowns a season for the last 3 years now. That's a lot of value getting siphoned away from their respective running backs. Could be a little tough there for the overall potential. Okay, what is available here that could be of value? At the running back position, Marlon Mack signed with Houston. Again, I don't even care that Marlon Mack's there. Do I want another tight end? I think that's what I'm probably looking for. Of the available, Everett in Los Angeles isn't bad. I'm going to take a little bit of a risk here. I'm going to go with Evan Ingram in a Doug Peterson offense and just hope that there's the potential. Okay, so coming back to the chat, see what you guys are saying. Here we go. What if JD? What is JD thinking staying there? I mean, look, Dutch, I would say that it's probably easier to go ahead and live in one place for as long as you possibly can, especially in the NFL where you jump from team to team. So to kind of give your family some stability and stay in Washington, I don't doubt it. I don't doubt that'd be the reason as to why he wanted to stay there. And I mean, if he's being paid, he likes where he's at, he thinks the team can win, and he likes his role within the team, obviously playing that second fiddle to Antonio Gibson, then, he's good to go. Okay, I'm the next selection again here. I took Evan Ingram. A lot of tight ends coming off the board. I already have 2 tight ends. I'm okay with what I have. I'm not, worried about it. McCole Hardman could be of value. I don't mind him as a grab, but I think I need another running back just to kind of give myself a little bit of value. Okay, we're gonna do this. We're gonna snag Chris Carson and just hope and pray. That's the plan. Okay. So this draft will pretty much be done soon. I probably will just let it auto draft for me going forward, and then I'll just hop into another draft. Where do you have Zeke? Closer to round 1 or maybe round 2? I think he is certainly going to be drafted in 3rd rounds based on what he did last year. Maybe late 2nd. But there is a lot of consensus concern about where he is. Now, in my opinion, if the man is healthy, he's a good running back and associated with an offense that is coming off of a season that was literally the number 1 scoring team in the league. Dallas was lighting it up, 31.2 points per game. So the touchdowns are going to be there if they continue that level. I don't know if they're going to be able to. They lost Connor Williams on the offensive line. They lost Lyle Collins on the offensive line. 2 really good guys up front that are great at run blocking. Does hurt their backfield. On top of the fact that they lost or they gave away Mari Cooper for peanuts. There's a lot of potential in which that offense doesn't end up in that position. And that is why everybody's beginning to, get concerned about Zeke and Pollard's potential, opportunity that's growing in that backfield. So for right now, Definitely not a first rounder. I don't think he's even a second rounder. I think he's probably a guy that in the third, have at him. Especially if you end up drafting a first round wide receiver or a second round wide receiver, for example, in the first, you're comfortable taking Cooper Kupp. In the second and third, you want to go back-to-back running backs, you can do that. If you're in a position where you take, a running back in the back end of the first round, maybe Najee Harris is there, and then you wrap around and you take Stephon Diggs, you're like, okay, by the time this thing comes back, I need to grab another running back talent because I don't have much left, considering after the first 3 to 4 rounds, there's a huge, drop-off of potential. Then you just go ahead and you can grab him there. But that's kind of where I'm leaning towards. Nolan says, roast my team. I'm NJS37. Roast your team? I don't think there's anything to roast here, but let's go see. Where's NJS? All right. So we have ourselves 2 good quarterbacks. Okay. You went all in on wide receiver, my guy. Because, okay, so this is the risk, right? Saquon's a huge risk, but it's the one you're willing to take, right? I'm okay with that. I think whenever it's a risk in that regard and you're playing the best ball, by all means, that's a decent risk to take. Kenneth Walker, we don't know where he's going to end up. Melvin Gordon, we don't know where he's going to end up. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to split the backfield with Ronald Jones, which is a little concerning. So, again, a lot of, investment in the quarterback and wide receiver. Just got to hope that these guys end up playing well. Not to say that they're not going to. I think they very easily could. They just have to do it at a level to where you at least get 2 sustainable running backs every single week, which is going to be tough if Saquon's not at the level at which he was in the past and Gordon doesn't end up where he needs to, etc. I'm not saying my running backs are perfect either, right? I just took Chris Carson, which again is a late round like prey. But I obviously took a discount at, quarterback 2 and took a discount at wide receiver just to ensure this. So again, it just depends where you're drafting from and what you prioritize in this kind of a draft. Especially in a quarterback draft where, if Kyler and Trey Lance really do go off again this year, if Kyler goes off at the capacity where he was prior to his injury last season and Trey Lance looks anything remotely close to what we anticipate, you should be in a decent position. All right, so of what we have, what is a decent selection here? Julio's got to play football this year. As for who, I don't know. Do I want to take a risk here? This is what I'm going to do. Considering I already have Pickett, I'm going to take Darnold and just kind of lock down that duo so that I at least have the starting quarterback for Carolina going forward. And then I'll just probably take another running back here and just let it be. Probably JD. Jamal Williams is decent, but not the best. Foreman is a decent handcuff for Christian McCaffrey right now, considering he signed there. Could end up being a little bit of a snag. What's up, AK Gaming? How's it going? Is AK your initials as well? Sean says, do you think CeeDee Lamb takes the leap with Amari gone? Yeah, as long as Dak Prescott takes the leap, per se. If Dak Prescott is in the position to... Let me think here. Do I want to risk... Yeah, you know what? Let's just grab Donta Foreman and see if Christian McCaffrey is going to do it again to all of us. Anyway, if in fact Dak Prescott commits to the idea of getting the ball to CeeDee Lamb 10 times a game, then we're good to go. He's a top 8 wide receiver, top 10 wide receiver this year in fantasy. If they don't get to that conclusion, then unfortunately we're going to be in a little bit of trouble with CeeDee Lamb like we were last year. Not to say that he didn't have a great season, but it was a little bit underwhelming than what we anticipated. Henry Odom says, QB, RB, wide receiver, and tight end rank. The order, please. What do you mean by that? The round order. Sorry. Thank you. Okay, now I had to reread that, Henry. Typically, what I like to do is I like to draft 2 running backs in the first 3 rounds. If a stud tight end sitting there in the 3rd round, a la Kelsey, I'm willing to grab it. Otherwise, you can grab a wide receiver there and then look to try to adapt for where the draft is going. A lot of drafting has to do with seeing what other people are doing and kind of reacting. Like, I think I've mentioned this in the past. If you're sitting on a turn, if you have like a top 3 pick or a bottom 3 pick, so if you're sitting at the 1.03 or 1.09, and you know that the people after your selection have to pick specific players, you can go ahead and like adapt to that and take players that okay, he was already grabbed his quarterback. I don't need to address quarterback because these both, have already addressed that for their teams. It'll come back to me. I'll take a running back right now because I know if I take the quarterback, it'll be gone on the way back. So ultimately, I like to build my teams around running backs. That's just how fantasy's kind of been, made. The scoring format is it an advantageous position for running backs. So 2 running backs in the first 3 rounds. I'm willing to take a 3rd running back in the 4th if it is a unbelievable value. Otherwise, we're looking for wide receiver depth, tight end depth, and quarterback depth from rounds 4 through 6 or 7, 8. And obviously the occasional running back if it is of, the correct value. The reason why I say if is mainly because there's a lot of risk with those lower end running backs. Now, last year, Leonard Fournette, James Conner, they played beyond their potential, to say the least, right? So there's always a potential of grabbing a guy that ends up blowing up. It's just very unlikely that it happens. Over the last couple of years, very rarely have we seen running backs drafted after like the 3rd, 4th round really do much. They often, put up lower numbers and are drafted in that range because of their lack of opportunity. Let's see here. Okay, so what's up, Doc? How's it going? Hope you're doing well. Okay, really quickly, I'm going to probably hop into another draft here, probably a rookies and sophomore draft. Just want to remind all of you guys, if you guys haven't checked out Underdog Fantasy today, I implore you do so. There's a link down in the description, first line there, if you want to go ahead and sign up today. Go ahead and click on that link. Use code Andrew when you sign up. And Underdog Fantasy is willing to match up to $100 of your first deposit. Again, a lot of the potential contests that you can get involved in via Underdog Fantasy are best balls. So what exactly does that mean? You are going ahead and drafting now, and you don't even have to set your lineup for the regular season. You are simulating drafts. I mean, that's basically what I'm doing. I'm simulating drafts in order to gather experience, get myself in a position so I'm comfortable with the ADPs, understand where people are kind of swaying in that direction, so that when, in fact, my drafts come along in June, July, August, early September, I'm prepared and I can go ahead and react to everything because I've seen everything. So go ahead and sign up today if you're interested. Use code Andrew. Certainly does help support me in the channel. Would greatly appreciate that. Not only does Underdog Fantasy have drafts, but there's always the pick'ems. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, looking at drafts, I know there's an NBA draft right now. I thought about doing one. I haven't even played an NBA fantasy league since, it's been a while. Let me think. How many years has it been since I've played fantasy basketball? Fantasy basketball, I think it's been 8 years for me. It's been literally that long, but it's really not that big of a roster. I might just hop into one of these real quick just to see what it is. You know what? Yeah, let me just hop into this. I'm just curious because it'll fill up in a bit. Listen, basketball is a sport that I love to play more than I love to follow for fantasy purposes. You know what I mean? Obviously, you can't play football very often, okay? That's pretty much done in, after college for majority of humans. But yeah, for right now, we're going to go ahead. I want to see what the heck an NBA draft looks like. This is for the playoffs, by the way. So it's a matter of who I think is probably going to be in the NBA championship. I want to draft as many Milwaukee Bucks as I can. That's basically where I'm at. Or Phoenix Suns, because the Phoenix Suns are just torching teams right now. It's going to be tough to beat them. All right, a couple more questions were sent in here while we await this draft to begin. Bruce, the code is not Andrew's beard. It is just Andrew, Andrew, but I appreciate that. Thoughts on Rashad Penny, says Thomas Nelson. Thomas, I think Rashad Penny's in a good position. He's coming off of an incredible, back end of the 2021 year. Won a lot of people fantasy championships. I just don't know what that offense is going to look like. I don't know how much utilization Chris Carson's going to get. I don't know who the quarterback's going to be. If they're really going to be Drew Lock at the quarterback position, I don't know how much they're going to score in that offensive line's been a little, underwhelming in the last couple seasons. So it's tough. We're going to have to wait and see kind of this offseason where it's all beginning to rotate towards. Okay, so looking at what the heck I have here. I'm the 3rd overall pick. I'm going to change this screen really quickly so everybody can have a grander view as to what the heck I'm doing here. Again, this is an NBA playoffs draft. When I woke up today, I did not anticipate drafting one of these, but it's intriguing. Overall, I think if I'm not mistaken, let me see here. How many of each position can I draft? Let me see here. The rules. So I can draft. Okay. I can draft 1 guard, 1 wing. Okay. 2 flexes, 1 back. Okay. What does the B mean? Shouldn't this be the center? What is this? Backcourt? I don't know. Front court, backcourt. I don't know. The Devin Booker. I mean, So I'm probably in the odd man out position. That's so unfortunate because I wanted one of those 2. All right, Joel Embiid. Let's hope you can carry yourself to the to the promised land, my guy. So be it. All right, let me hop back into this chat. Let's see what the heck's going on here. But yeah, Rashad Penny, it's tough to see where he's going to go or what he's going to do, considering I don't know what that team is getting themselves into. Let me go ahead and move this down here for a little bit. Actually, we just move it up here. Sean says, what round or range do you think Amon-Ra St. Brown should go next year? Because I'm starting to consider him as a late 3, early 4. I would not draft him anywhere near that. The reason why I say that specifically is because we have to remember that his success was gained in the absence of both DeAndre Swift, who was averaging 7 targets per game prior to his injury, and TJ Hawkinson, who was averaging 8 targets per game prior to his injury. So with a vacant 13 to 15 plus targets per week, obviously Jared Goff and whoever the backup quarterback was in those last couple games had to throw it somewhere. They looked in the direction of the one and only Amon-Ra St. Brown because he was the only one getting open in comparison to Josh Reynolds and Khalif Raymond, etc. So if we remember the fact that, yes, his opportunity came because other people went down with injury, I would probably not take him as early as you are potentially going after him. I think it's a little too rich for my blood. What's up, William? How's it going? Jokic? Yeah, look, I think Jokic is a stat-filling machine, but I also want players that are going to have longevity in the playoffs, right? Bam Adebayo coming off the board. I mean, if they want to leave Durant for me, if they want to leave Chris Paul, sheesh. I don't even know who's playing who in these NBA playoffs, but I think I'm probably, Chris Middleton's down there. Ooh, baby. Last season, I watched almost every single game of the NBA playoffs last season. Now, Jrue Holiday coming off the board. Listen, I'm going to take Kevin Durant. I don't get it. Am I crazy? I mean, if I'm stacking up on Eastern Conference players, so be it, but it's very interesting. Maybe I don't know what I'm doing, and that's perfectly fine, but I just wanted to go ahead, give this a shot, and see what kind of fun we could have. Nathan says, I traded James Robinson and a 2023 second-round pick for a 2024 first and Rashad Bateman. What do you think? I think that's a good trade. I really do. I think that's a great trade. Getting yourself a first round for 2024 really sets you up in a dynasty perspective. And then Rashad Bateman, should have value going forward. Yeah, KD should be good. John Morant. Isn't John Morant hurt? I think he's missed the last, 25 games now? That's a little concerning. I don't know if he's ready to go. If he's ready to go, by all means, we're in a good position then. But I don't know. Jaylen Brown. Dude, Jaylen Brown's been nuclear as of late for the Celtics. Dude has been just torching. I mean, am I crazy to think that Steph's a good pick here? I don't know who they're playing, but I feel like is he not healthy? Maybe that's what it is. Let me see where the heck Steph's going. Is he not? I mean, if he's not healthy, then that's probably why. Yeah, look, he's been injured with that ankle injury for a while. Yeah, I remember I mean, I saw it, but I don't know if it's worth grabbing here. Kyrie and Middleton. Should I just stack them? Okay, I'm down. Do I want to? Where's Kyrie at? Okay, we're gonna grab Middleton. Whatever. Let's see what happens. Oh, Kyrie already went. What the heck am I saying? John Morant went. James Harden went. Okay, we'll take Middleton. It's fine. I need a guard though. So, when the heck is my pick? Around the corner here? Okay. So when it comes back to me, I've got to go ahead. I probably should have taken Steph, but I don't really care anymore. I'm rolling with what the heck is going on. Van Vliet, no. Trae Young, no. DeMar DeRozan. I feel like the Chicago Bulls might get bounced in the first. How's Clay been playing without? That's my question. I guess, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I start looking for players that are, yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and just play it by the hip. I'm not even going to try to really build the greatest team ever, but we'll see what happens. Who got taken? Mikal Bridges? That makes sense. Jaren Jackson. Dude, this guy's a stud. I don't know if the Memphis Grizzlies are winning a first round, matchup, but maybe if they get a good matchup, I guess they could. Donovan Mitchell still available. Ruled out. Okay, yeah, they're prepping him for the playoffs. Huh? Let me see here. What's the injury designation? Late edition. Yeah, they're just trying to probably keep him healthy. Draymond Green, Jaren Jackson. Okay, so considering I don't know what the heck I'm doing, yeah, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. I'm gonna take Donovan Mitchell because I don't know what's going on. I'm probably gonna follow that by taking the Minnesota Timberwolves. Are that good? Goodness gracious, huh? How about that? Who's another wing? I already have 2 wings. I gotta get probably another guard or something. I need just flex players now, huh? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and minimize this draft here, and go ahead and move back down. Very interesting how this basketball works. Very, very interesting. Okay. Cat might not be a bad pick since the Grizzlies are pretty good even without Morant. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, Cat is a stud. I know that. I mean, the guy's a 3-point machine. But I just don't know how far these teams can go in their respective playoffs, It's tough. Tobias Harris, I mean, I know he's a decent player, but is he going to do anything in the postseason? Like, I feel like that entire offense is just Harden and B, but I could be wrong. Pascal Siakam for the Toronto Raptors. Tyler Hero is kind of a dirty off the bench player, and there he goes. I'm probably just going to take Cat here and just roll with it. Brook Lopez, DeMar DeRozan, Kyle Lowry. Aren't the Miami Heat falling apart as of late? I'm just going to take them. We'll roll with it. Okay, let's see what the chat has to say. Ryan J says, DK and 3rd overall rookie draft for JT? Yes. You're giving away DK Metcalf and the 3rd overall rookie draft pick for Jonathan Taylor? Automatically do it now. Take Jonathan Taylor. Automatic. Not even close. Not even close in my eyes. Okay. I'm probably going to let this draft auto for the rest of the way because there's a lot more rounds and there's not as much effort in my eyes. So I'm just going to let it roll. And kind of hop back here, see what the chat has to say, what you guys are up to, any questions you guys got. Again, I want to thank you guys for coming out today, sending your support my way via your viewership, clicking the like button. For those of you who sent in questions via donation, I greatly appreciate that. Grizzlies are 20-2 without Morant. No, I understand that they've been playing well without him. I was just wondering if I should be taking Morant You know, I don't know if he's going to be healthy for the first round of the NBA playoffs. That's why I also opted to avoid Steph, because if they're not going to be there, you know, they can get bounced, and if they don't play, it's not worth it for the investment at that current position. Okay, let's go ahead. What time is it? All right, we've been here for about an hour and a half. I'm gonna probably go ahead and hop into a rookies and sophomores draft. I just want to see what the heck. Actually, let me see what it is real quick. So we have ourselves here pretty big prize pool, and it's a half PPR. We're drafting one quarterback, one running back, two wide receivers / tight ends, a flex, and a bench. Okay, let's just try this. Haven't done this before. We'll enter this. Yes. We're looking for one more person to enter this draft. We'll go ahead, go back to the screen here, and kind of set this up. Just want to remind you before this draft starts, guys. I know I've mentioned it a lot, but again, for those of you who are trying to draft, with me, or trying to continue to build your experience via fantasy and draft going into the 2022 season, make sure to check out Underdog Fantasy. That is where I'm drafting on, all off season and going into the 2022 regular season. Again, there's the rookie versus sophomores. There's the big board Superflex that we did. If you want to sign up today, use promo code Andrew or the link down in the description of the video, the very first one. And when you sign up, Underdog Fantasy is willing to match up to $100 of your first deposit. Again, you deposit 100, they'll match 100. You deposit 50, they'll match 50. It's up to you. If you are interested, check that out, and sign up today. Whether it is app on your phone, laptop, desktop. Underdog Fantasy, if I'm not mistaken, they just recently updated their iOS app. I think it's looking clean as of late. Okay. Let's see. Is this thing gonna fill up? Maybe. If this draft doesn't fill up in the next couple minutes, then so be it. But yeah, I'm just here to answer questions. Again, Ryan, if someone is really offering you Jonathan Taylor for DK and a rookie, you should absolutely be taking Jonathan Taylor. Of the available running backs just in the NFL right now, he's probably one of the best in terms of opportunity. He's going to have a pretty long career as long as he's with the Colts, and Frank Wright is leading that ship in the right direction, which it looks like they are. I mean, it's a one-back offense. The guy's going to get 300-plus opportunities a season. I can't see a season in which Jonathan Taylor here on forward isn't going to be in the top 5 conversation every single time, barring an injury. Alrighty. Let's see here. Just need one more person to hop into this thing, and we're good to go. Let me even see who's available here. So Trey Lance, Justin Fields. Okay, so obviously people are going to take Trey Lance relatively early because there's only 4 teams to be had here, and they want to go ahead and grab him. But who else is available? Najee, Javonte, Hall, ETN. Okay, the draft is full now, so we're in a good position. Mitchell, Carter, Stevenson. Okay, let's see what we got at wide receiver. Jamar Chase probably top couple picks here. Okay, Drake London, obviously all these rookie, Traylon Burks, of course, a lot of studs. Okay, I got the first pick. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Who do I want to take? That is the question. I think let me go ahead and change the OBS screen format here. Let's go to the big board here. I'm thinking I kind of want to go ahead and not take Jamar Chase. That's what I'm thinking. But I don't know if that would... There's 4 teams. If I don't take a running back, who do I get in return? ETN, Mitchell, if I'm lucky. And if not either of those, I just scrounge up a bunch of rookie running backs that are coming into the league. I'm going to take Javonte. We'll see what happens. Number 2 is probably happy. He probably is like, damn, I didn't expect to get Jamar Chase here. Or he's pissed because he wanted Javonte. I don't know which one it's going to be, but should be fun. So when it comes back around, is there any good... Okay, so St. Brown, that's probably a guy that I'm looking for sure, considering the format that we're in. Okay. There's a lot of studs, man. Just a matter of where a lot of these guys end up landing. The quarterback position just cleaned out. Obviously, I'm going to be dealing with Davis Mills probably as my starter. You know what? I could probably go with... Oh, man. I can't believe that almost returned to me. That would have been crazy. I've already taken a running back, huh? How many flexes do I get? 1. I'm going to take ETN. And I'm probably going to take Mitchell. Oh, man. Am I crazy for that? Instead of a Kyle Pitts? Yeah, I'm probably crazy for that. Let's just take Kyle Pitts. Considering quarterback's already torched, like, I'm just going to get Mac Jones. I think he's probably the best of the group remaining. So we'll highlight Mac Jones. We're good to go there. We'll grab him next. If he comes back to me. If he doesn't, so be it. I don't care. And then everything else is looking towards the future. So I want to try to get Drake London, Chris Olave. So let's see where this draft goes. Again, Brees Hall would be an automatic pick if I knew that where the heck he was going to play this year. But I don't know. That's the issue. So for right now, I'll pivot from it. Mac Jones taken right in front of my face. All right, so be it. I'll take Davis Mills. Give me Davis, and then I'll go ahead and pair Davis Mills up with Elijah Mitchell because I guess he's still on the board. Thank you very much. I don't get it. You guys want me to have all the running backs? By all means, thank you. I appreciate that. There's so many more wide receivers that are studs that I can actually do something with in this regard. All right, not a bad spot. Brevin Jordan, actually a decent tight end option there. Late in rounds. Kadarius Toney, of course. I'm just going to highlight all these guys. Rondale Moore is probably my favorite if I had to. I'm getting at least 2 of these guys, so I'm happy with it regardless. Okay, great. We'll take Chris Olave, and then we're going to take Rondale Moore. That'll be my wide receivers. Stacking them up. Probably need another quarterback here, so I was going to take Malik Willis, but that is immediately taken off the board. I'll probably try to go Kenny Pickett then and try to roll with it. This one's actually way quicker draft, which makes it a little bit easier on my brain so I don't overload and, have a meltdown. But we got a couple more picks coming down the line here. Fire Muth coming off the board. Who else down here? I think Brevin Jordan has potential, so he could be a late pick. Tutu Atwell, no thank you. A lot of these guys are not the greatest. Okay, so of the available, let's see here. We're going to just take Pickett just in case somebody else wants to snag it. Maybe I just bite the bullet. Let me think here. What do I want to do? You know what? I think I'm just going to... What the heck did I just do there? We'll just take rookie wide... do I want to just take rookie wide? No. We'll just take the quarterback. Let's not overthink this. Khalil Herbert. That's interesting. Nobody really likes Isaiah Spiller, huh? James Cook. Not going to be anything close to what his brother is, unfortunately, for him. Not even the same build. Chuba Hubbard is not going to be a good enough pick there, unfortunately. Jarrett Patterson could have been if, in fact, J.D. McKissick signed elsewhere. Chris Evans not going to do much. I'm just rolling down this list, seeing if there's anything even worth a damn. All right. Josh Palmer, not bad at all, considering the quarterback he's associated with. We'll take Brevin Jordan just for the risky play of it. I think at running back, I'm pretty set, especially in a best ball. So I'm just going to stack up on respective wide receivers from here on forth. Yeah, we're in a pretty decent position. If Gainwell wants to come back to me here in this upcoming round, then by all means, I'll take him because Gainwell gains value. interestingly enough, he gains value if and when the other running backs in his backfield are hurt, which Miles Sanders, again, has dealt with many times in his career. So I don't mind doing that. And then we'd be good to go. How many picks do I got? I just got one pick here. All right, we're chilling. Okay, that's great. We'll take him. Very cool. Draft complete. All right, guys. Well, that concludes 3 separate drafts. Pretty fun in my opinion. Hopefully you guys, were entertained. Kept you guys, I guess, kept the fantasy information flowing in your direction with all the possible stats I can rip off the top of my head. I do appreciate you guys coming out today, supporting the channel. Just want to remind you guys again, Underdog Fantasy, if you're willing to sign up, I do implore you to do so. A lot of drafts to take place this offseason. I'll be drafting there. Potentially, we can go ahead and set up private drafts, draft against one another, especially in 1 quarterback leagues, which will eventually start to pick up once the NFL draft takes place. But outside of that, that's pretty much today's stream. I want to thank you guys for coming by. There was about 50 of you guys in here, so I appreciate that. For those of you who continue to chat, for those of you who didn't type in the chat or are just lurking, listening, much support, much appreciation for the support. And that's pretty much it, guys. This is me signing off here on the YouTubes. I'll of course notify you guys the next time I end up streaming via either scheduling it here on YouTube, my Discord server, which the link is down in the description. You can join that whenever you'd like, and or tweeting it out that I'm going to be live. So for those of you who are interested, go ahead and check that out. I appreciate that. And until next time, everybody, I'll see you guys. Peace.